Well, I think cyber breaches come in a variety of forms. And I will tell you first about the simple, frequent ones that we have certainly seen over the last couple of years. And that is, first of all, payment diversion fraud, where a company is persuaded to place funds in a bank account that belongs to the criminal involved. This does not always involve a cyber breach, but companies quite often think that it does. Secondly, we have all heard about the widespread ransomware attacks, and there are a huge amount of those going on, where a perpetrator encrypts information on your systems with the hope of getting some funds for providing the decryption keys. And thirdly, an attack on outward-facing websites, denial of service, which happen. Now, these are definitely scams, quite simple to deal with, but let us get into the more serious ones, which come in, again, probably three formats. First, the removal or viewing even of personal identifiable information. That may be of your employees or your customers or a third party, where you have a responsibility in terms of data protection not to give that sort of information away. So stealing of PII, as it is called, is a very considerable problem for companies. Secondly, you will have what is increasingly coming out now as serious cyber extortions, where a perpetrator has either viewed or removed considerable amounts of data on your systems and then asks for a fairly large sum of money to recover those. And that is a second major problem these days. And finally, where the motive is not always clear, when a perpetrator, a hacker, has been in your systems for several months, and you have to work out where and what they have viewed and stolen, which can cover a plethora of aspects. So I think those are the two categories, the very, very serious ones, and then the so-called scams. For companies who faced a minor scam, I think it is relatively simple to deal with. They have to discover exactly what has happened and what has been disrupted. For example, in a ransomware attack, a considerable amount of data may have been encrypted. They need to probably return to their backups to get the systems back up and running, which will be an IT responsibility. They will have to establish what has been affected. Is it information? Is it money? Or what is it? They have to think that through. And they then have to work out how to recover from that particular situation. Often, this is largely done by the IT teams, but with management input on the decisions. For example, are we going to pay for decryption keys, etc.? Are we going to put in place large amounts of, with our IP provider, should we put in a broad spectrum of information in order to absorb a denial of service attack, for example? Then, when the immediate crisis is over, the company has to work out how can it prevent that sort of thing happening again. Ironically, technical controls are not always the total answer, and it is all about employee awareness, having a look at things like remote desktop protocols often used to access computers and networks remotely, and try and make sure the controls are appropriate. However, for serious incidents, definitely senior management have to get involved because your reputation is at stake. From the financial point of view, you may have loss of funds. More likely, you are going to have business interruption to your services, which will A, hit you financially, but B, affect your clients potentially, and they can wish to recover their losses, and they may also, you may have to go to the regulator to make sure that you do not get fined for allowing the breach to occur. From a legal point of view, it's all about appropriate notification to the appropriate regulators once you know exactly what has happened, so you can give them a substantial one-off statement as to how things have happened. The same would be true with your clients, customers, and indeed any of your stakeholders, be they suppliers or distributors of your product. Operationally, clearly, one needs to get back up and running as fast as possible to a business as usual situation. But strategically, it is all about reputation. You have got to consider your customers and what effect this will have on them and therefore your reputation. As a company management, you are going to have to work out truthfully exactly what has happened and put a bracket round the whole area of what could potentially have occurred, so you prepare for a worst case situation, even if you don't know exactly what has happened immediately. This will enable you to put a straight line under the situation as soon as it's over and you have informed the necessary people, taken the appropriate action, and then worked out how to prevent such a situation happening again. Because, of course, you can make a mistake once, but if there is a repeat situation, you will be caned reputationally.